Hey, and we're back. Welcome to another episode of And in This Corner. Coming out the white corner. My name is Bill, and I'm ready to fight.
Coming out the black quarter, my name is Barry, and I'm ready to fight.
All right, I want a good, clean fight. Let's get it on.
Welcome to And in This Corner, where we settle the score once and for all on who's the best. That includes best music, best shows, best movies, best anything. And this week, what are we talking about, Bill?
Man, we got some sad news. I had to hit my brother Barry up this morning, and I think both of us can concur. Um, One of the greatest, or one of our greatest um, icons, musical icons, has passed away. We're going to speak about the life, legacy of one Quincy Jones.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Just a lot of pounds on the floor. So a lot of stuff to capture. We're going to try to just highlight some of our best moments. We'll look at his catalog, just everything that he's done, both in and outside of music.
Yeah.
We'll look at some of his favorite works. My taste may mirror or differ from Bill's. And then after that, we'll talk about impact. Died at 91, lived a long life while he was here. Let's get into it. When we talk about his catalog, what are some things that comes to mind for you, Bill? What is he known for?
For me, my era, I'll start from my era and then we can kind of work our way back. My era, obviously it would be the Sanford and Son theme song. Yep, that, the Color Purple soundtrack, The Wiz, and his works with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I think those are the more just highlighted from my era on. That's where he's most notable.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of the same thing. I mirror the Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad. Those are his collaborations with Mike.
Yeah.
I do like the collabs with select songs with Frank Sinatra. So film and TV, Sanford and Son, The Wiz. He's also responsible for the Roots soundtrack. Color Purple, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is a big one. I just remember that kind of being a staple every time reading that on the back. And I used to have already had the MJ album, and I'm like, oh, it's the same guy. You know, it's the same guy. And then most recent and notably, he's like the first domino that fell to kind of help create the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Yep. I think that's DC's best tourist attraction right now.
Sure is.
Yeah, he was like he's the cornerstone of getting that built. So so we talked about a lot, and there's a lot of stuff we left off the table.
Yeah, we can hit. Yeah.
Let's kind of get into some of our favorite works.
Well, so, I would say this. If you start with his beginnings, you know, his first, from my understanding, his first music that he put out, I would say, record label, that kind of stuff, were jazz. He was a trumpeter, and he was very influential in the jazz world. Obviously, he wasn't, well, I'm not going to say he wasn't, but as far as my knowledge, he's not the Miles Davis in them, but he's worked with all of them.
Yeah.
He's worked with the Louis Armstrong.
He's featured, he's played by Lorenz Tate, another fellow Chicagoan on the Ray movie.
Ray movie, yeah.
And it's just, I think that movie captured his spirit. He was just always in the room, and because that's what he was on in the movie, and that's how it was in life. He's connected within 2 degrees of separation to like famous
from a lot of people,
all different genres.
Yeah. If you just go down his discography, you'll be reading for days.
Yeah.
His albums, along with things that he's produced.
So there's a great documentary I'm gonna rewatch this weekend in his honor. It's Q on Netflix. And basically, when you look at the first half of his career, because he had a near near death experience in the 70s. If his career would have stopped there, he would have already been a legend. And this is prior to off the wall.
Yeah.
But favorite works, once again, the work with MJ. I love that stuff. Secret Garden, one of my favorite collaborations between
R&B. Q's Juke Joint. Is that what that was on?
Q's Juke Joint. I think it was on it's
I think it.
Q's juke joint.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might or might not be. I would have to double check. But
Hmm.
speaking of that, I just love his collaborations with folks in the 90s. So Tamia, um I
Hmm.
probably replay that song maybe once a
Yep.
month,
Yep. Hmm.
and then once again I put Q's juke joint on this.
Yeah.
So just a lot of tracks on that
Yeah.
record. He just always found ways to
Recreate himself, man. Just
yeah,
be.
just because a lot of times when artists do that, it's like they fighting for life. It's like, come on, man, you trying to be younger than what you are. I
Yeah.
think he had his own sound, and I love R&B music, and I
Hmm.
think he had huge fingerprints on that. And then another piece I put in there is Fresh Prince. I just think one of the best sitcoms ever, and the fact when you hear stories when Will tells them on how that came about with him kind of being
Hmm.
the one to kind of push that agenda,
Hmm.
in the house as well. Just
Yeah.
I feel like if UPN would have still been around, he would have definitely been bigger powerhouse. Vibe. I used to watch the late night show with
Yeah.
him.
Hmm.
But
So,
definitely the work with
so
MJ. Go ahead.
when we look at, and we're just barely scraping the surface of his
Barely.
career. I mean, barely scraping the surface of his career. To go back to what you're saying, he was relevant decade after decade after
Yeah.
decade
Yeah.
after decade. The difference between a Quincy Jones and
Yeah.
what we see today are, I would call a lot of the music or beat makers, because that's what I call them more so. And there's no disrespect to them, any
Hmm.
no disrespect. They're beat makers. They have a computer program that and they can, set up everything and everything from using from Fruity Loops or whatever they use, right? I can make an entire song in 15 minutes for the most part.
Hmm.
Q and others like him, to me, they're not music producers, they're music composers.
Bro, that's the
I'm
biggest difference.
composing
Yeah.
a song. I'm thinking about a structure from beginning, middle, end. In every song, I'm telling a story. I'm telling a story with every single instrument I use, every single melody,
He's
every single
pre-hip hop, so a
chord
lot he's not
progression.
I think it's very
Yes,
difficult to make popular music without samples. I respect the sampling game, but I
mm-hmm.
just understand the difficulty and what do you do when you don't have a reference? So him being
That's
from that,
when but that's what separates guys like Quincy, who are actual musicians,
yeah,
so they can hear things. You could take a Let's take another one of our top guys, Babyface.
yeah,
Babyface plays instruments. So
hmm
I can go and I can listen at something, or I can have a just laying down and a chord progression comes to my head. Oh, let me go see what I can do with that. And now I'm building the structure of a song.
yeah,
You know, those kind of guys, that kind of music really sticks and it's meaningful. And we also forgot about the young Tevin Campbell.
yeah. Well, he
Rem-
was a mentor to most. Like, so you got Tevin
Yeah,
Campbell, you got Prince,
yeah.
you got obviously MJ, you got
Hmm.
I just so it's a scene in the documentary where he just needs favors and he has his
Hmm.
interns call and they name drop him
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
everybody stops what they're doing, Oprah
Hmm.
included, to
Hmm.
where Steven Spielberg being another guy that he just had in his back pocket. So yeah,
You talk about favorite works, right?
mhm.
And did you list yours? Did you
I
list
mine
it?
mine is the
Kind of,
stuff with
sort of.
MJ,
MJ, yeah.
Secret Garden to me.
Yeah, to me. I think one of my everything you said,
Yeah.
obviously, because we're talking about Quincy, and again, we're talking about the greatest. So when I think about my favorite works for Quincy, one of the ones is the score for from The Color Purple.
Hmm.
I have it downloaded through, Apple Music on my phone, and
That was dope.
I literally just listen at the score. Um,
That that I mean that soundtrack and score almost killed him. Like that's I think that's what actually caused He said he would never do a movie again, which is sad because
Hmm.
that's some of the best music that we've seen from a motion picture. But yeah, it just took a lot out
Yeah.
of him. He put everything that he had. It definitely cost him his marriage because of that. But
You remember I sent
go
you a
ahead.
post maybe last week or a week before about the guy who composed all like a lot of those scores.
Yep.
Um,
I think it
you
was John
we
Williams.
typically will watch a movie and you hear the music throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about soundtrack songs, but actually the scores, like
The score, like
you
the
know, the music
atmosphere
that's
of the
played
movie.
and yeah, the
Yep.
atmosphere of the music. You don't think about that, but when you look at that, that's just as important as the soundtrack.
I don't think a lot of I don't think a lot of people because there's not really a school you could go to for that. It's just some people
Yeah,
got it, some people don't.
yeah,
When you
yeah.
think of John Williams, I think he's up there with those guys. And then
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you think of that's another thing I respect for him. He was a master in every genre. So you got his
Every
classical
genre.
stuff that he did in
Mm-hmm.
Paris. You got the jazz
Yeah.
stuff that he did. You got the pop stuff that he did with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Also the pop stuff that he did with Frank. Then you have a lot of
Yeah.
the stuff that he did in 90s R&B. It's
Mm-hmm.
just every sense of like, every version of success you want to measure him by, he found a way to excel. So when I say he's like the Michael Jackson of producers, it's because everything he touched was popular. Like I understand some
Yeah.
people make good music, but when you look up the amount of records he's responsible for selling, you
Yeah.
talk about platinum, 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 diamond, diamond, diamond. It's
Mm-hmm.
a super producer.
Yeah.
So with that
And if
being said, I do want to
yeah.
get a chance to I don't like to compare people, but I do want to see how other people stack up. So I
Mm-hmm.
do want to talk about legacy and his
Okay.
impact on what do we, how do we, it's a little too soon, but how do we think that his legacy will hold
I think his
against time?
legacy was already, I don't think it's too
And
soon. I think his
and
legacy was already cemented
mhm,
before his passing. I think every person, for the most part, has him listed as the GOAT of music producers, composers, or whatever you want to
mhm.
call it. His name is always listed as the top. I won't even list him on my Mount Rushmore because he's the person that's looking above. He's looking down on the Mount Rushmore.
I listed my
That's how I
minds.
look at it.
I listed
I
my
mean,
minds, but
yeah, yeah,
it's a huge gap between him and who comes next.
yeah.
It's
So I
just you
would,
are.
I just have him
I
looking
understand.
down on
Yeah,
or they're looking up at him, or he's
yeah.
looking down at them, or they are doing both. Um, when we've always talked about this, Barry, if you take a certain artist or
Music away.
music away, an album, a producer, we've talked about this many times. What does that do to the scope of music?
You lose
You
Thriller.
take
You
you
lose
take
Off
this
the
man
Wall.
off in every all of his works, music
We Are the World.
changes. Music as a whole changes no matter
Hmm.
how you look at it. Music changes if you take him and all of his work away.
Yeah. Not just, and that's the thing. We could talk about music. We could talk about film, activism
Film.
too, because I know he was one of the leading, like the leading voices that led the charge for getting Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday. I just
As a
remember
national,
when
okay,
Stevie
cool.
Wonder and
Yeah.
them was doing all the
Hmm.
music and stuff like that. There's Arsenio clips you could watch where he's kind of like promoting it, like we're
Yeah.
trying to make this guy's birthday a holiday. So
Yeah.
just that in itself too, like he's involved in, and also another thing is he was one of the main artists that decided, hey, we're not doing Jim Crow. And in the movie Ray, he's the one that helps convince Ray not to,
Oh yeah,
claim the
yeah.
South anymore.
The chitlin circuit. Yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
doing Chitlin
yeah,
Circuit and Jim
yeah,
Crow South if they're going to keep segregating. So
yeah,
just that level of
yeah.
activism and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think him getting in Michael's ear to kind of because Michael was working with him, and I do think he was in Michael's ear, and that's the reason why Michael is like, hey, if you're not playing black artist music, you're not gonna have Thriller
MTV.
MTV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So once
Hmm.
again, I compared him to Steven Spielberg. Ironically, they did a movie together. So impact,
Color Purple.
if you look at his career before MJ,
Hmm.
it's already legendary. And then you add that the best-selling album of all time, and some would
Oh my
argue
God.
we're not even sure that's the best Michael album, so it's just from a popular perspective, him just being so immersed in like kind of ingrained in our pop
Yeah.
culture. he
Mm-hmm.
also understood how to respect and create popular music and
Mm-hmm.
popular content
Mm-hmm.
while respecting the technique of making music. You know,
Think
so
if think
uh,
about, because remember when the Wiz happened, if the Wiz doesn't happen, there is no off the wall
yeah.
Thriller.
And he said no to Michael at first. He said, "Bro, I ain't working with you." I'm kind of
There
like,
is no. And
yeah,
remember, Michael had to really, I think Michael really had to go to was it Epic? And really like, hey, no,
CBS, yeah.
this is who I want. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
it's
at
him.
first, he didn't want to work with Michael.
Hmm.
And then Michael kind of convinced him, like you said, it was like, nah, I work with this guy on the Wiz, and he's working with all these other people. So yeah, like you get the best album of all time, both in sales and also content. It just did a lot
Yeah.
for music. And then you got Fresh Prince. I think some people argue that's the best sitcom. I disagree, but it is up
Yeah,
there.
no,
So it's
it's not
like
the
for
best.
him having that platinum, the Grammys,
What
any measure of success,
he
you want to
won 28
rank him.
Grammys out of 80 nominations, I believe.
Get out of my
Come
face
on,
with
man.
that.
What are we
That's
talking
crazy.
about?
So
Yeah.
he's the standard for what we call a super producer. I think a lot of people like to throw that term around, but when you
Yeah.
look at how they stack up against him, it's
Hmm.
unfair.
Yeah, that's why I say I change it from producer to composer.
Hmm.
Because he composes, creator. He might just we might just call him a creator, not even a music producer. He's a music creator because
And then him,
he just creates
another thing
legendary
I
stuff.
respect about him is he had an ear for. I think he sees the vision or the stardom before other people do. Because
Probably
Rod
so.
Temperton, they wasn't respecting his. He called him directly and said, "I want to work with you on this Off the Wall album." And Heatwave was not rocking with his music.
he
They
he
they turned down
wave.
so much of his
Yeah,
songs.
oh my God, it's that clip that's
Yeah,
circulating on social
yeah, I
media.
seen
It's
it too.
like, man, why he keep giving all our music to
Yeah,
Michael and Quincy?
yeah,
Well, no, we your brother turned it down. Like,
yeah.
what? He turned that down. Like, yeah. So I
He's
think,
ahead of his time. I think even I think this I hope that this with his death that I think more artists start to become more focused on fighting
hmm
genres. Because I
hmm
know one of the things that he was pushing since the Thriller album, which was you shouldn't be put into an R&B box or a hip hop box or a contemporary soul. It's just do good music, and it doesn't
hmm
necessarily need a genre. Just good music is good music, which is why they were intentional about
hmm
just clashing genres on that album. So that is something that he's just always been an advocate for. Is we need to stop labeling things by genres. So I'm hoping
hmm
more artists think like that, and we get some good music from his memory. But
I
91 years
wanna
old, man. Go ahead.
I wanna hop back, take a step back, and I want to talk about the Wiz really quickly.
Hmm.
When you think about the Wiz, right? I'm not sure the first time you watched it. I'm not even sure the first time I watched it.
Yeah. I remember the first time I watched it.
But I remember the play from the play off of The Wizard of Oz,
Hmm.
right? And for him to take that, give us the people who were in it, you know, the Dianas,
Hmm.
you know, or it matter. Let me
Amamino
take another
Lion.
step. Yeah, let me take a
Yeah.
step back. You know, obviously it came off of the Broadway, so
Hmm.
you had some kind of way they switched the Wizard of Oz, put a spin on it. They gave us the Wiz, the creator that he is, took the Wiz Broadway, and now I'm gonna put it on big screen.
Yeah.
Give you all new music as far as scoring and all this stuff,
He's
right?
the Wiz. Yeah.
So when you think about the Wiz, right? How does how does that rank, or how does that impact, or what kind of impact did the Wiz have? I say you could just even just talk about it from your own life
Yeah.
standpoint or
It's
whatever,
just
or in
so
general.
I saw it as I was probably middle school or late elementary.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just I just remember, watching behind the musics or E True Hollywood stories on Michael having this film back in the 70s that I've never heard of. And I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go to it for that.
Yeah.
And then, naturally you start saying, hey, some of these songs are catchier than those songs from The Wizard of Oz, like
Mm-hmm.
some,
Mm-hmm.
both
Ease
classic
on down.
soundtracks, but,
Ease on down.
yeah, and exactly. Or You Can't Win, or you know what I mean? Or I'm a Mino Lion, or
Yeah.
Slide Some Oil
Slide.
to
Oh
Me. So
yeah. Slide
it's
that
like,
oil.
yeah, I think that film, because at the time it didn't do well box office wise,
No,
but for
yeah,
us
it
to be
didn't. Yeah.
talking about it
Yeah.
today, it definitely developed a cult following.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was like building blocks of what would eventually become your Black Panthers of the world, your Get Outs, to where people seen that, okay, as long as you guys collect behind the scenes and there's room for collaboration in Hollywood. So I think that movie is always going to be way more impactful than the box office number showed.
Yep. I
Um,
agree. I agree.
and then
Totally agree.
the music as well. Like I mean, Nipsey Hussle, he got his name from Nipsey Russell, and
Mr.
I'm
Russell.
pretty
Yeah.
sure he was introduced to him in that movie. So yeah. But
Probably.
your thoughts?
Again, I can't remember when I watched it. I just remember watching it. I just remember it being around.
Hmm. He got a
Most
cameo in the
notable.
movie too when they go to Emerald
Yeah,
City.
yeah, he's yeah. When they are walking around and changing colors and
Yeah, and he's on the piano.
yeah, for me, I I I think the first thought of that is Ease on Down the Road.
Hmm.
It's such a big song,
But
catchy.
hmm.
Michael Jackson, especially when
Yeah.
he got, I mean, it's Michael. So um it is a staple, I think, in our culture.
Yeah.
Like you said, the box office numbers don't tell the impact of what it really means to our culture.
Hmm. And
And
I mean the song. Every year around this time when the Cowboys go 3 games, 4 games under 500, it's a meme that shows up with the guy on the like a field goal post, and he's saying you can't win, and he's copying off of the MJ.
yeah.
So it's the music is catchy. I probably
Yeah,
got
yeah,
5 of those tracks on my
yeah,
old iPod
yeah. Hmm.
jamming to him.
Yeah, I watched it. I honestly, I probably watch The Wiz, even if I'm just turning it on to go to sleep, which I do all the, every day or whatever, like at least once a month.
Hmm.
And it's just so much great music.
And when
It's
you,
the great act, the people of our icons. Well, you got freaking Richard Pryor in there,
yeah,
he's the freaking wizard. Like it's just so much great, you know. I don't know, man. That movie is awesome. It's
yeah,
awesome. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you go watch it. If you haven't watched it.
yeah. It's just I think there's so many. You always hear different stories. Him brokering that
Mhm.
meet up with Michael and Prince after the James Brown concert. Him getting all those celebrities together for We Are the World.
I mean, another iconic. I
Hmm.
mean, iconic. Like, I mean, they made a documentary about it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
just
It's
about
just
that song.
I think towards the end, his interviews, you started to see like, oh, okay, you know what? This man.
Hmm.
So at some points you would get a little uncomfortable, like,
Hmm.
okay, is he all there? But then he would get into a storytelling mode, and then it was like, okay, that's Quincy. And I know there's a story Will Smith shares on Will Smith was nervous, never had acting classes, and then Quincy just put a bunch of decision makers in a room together, said, audition, here's a script. And then he
Hmm.
was like, I'm not ready. I'll come back in a week. And he just gave him a motivational pep talk, said, they're not going to be here in a week. So just
Hmm.
him being able to kind of make sure that that show happened, which
Hmm.
is one of the best sitcoms of the 90s.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Just it, you don't hear this like a person being attached to this much history.
No.
Like, okay, biggest album of all time, biggest artist of all time. Multiple times he was working with the biggest
Yeah.
guys in the game.
I think did they
Uh,
win Oscars or something? Grammys for The Color Purple
I
score.
know they got nominated. I would have to double check, but I would
Okay.
imagine. Yeah, I would imagine. It's just he has so much Grammys. You just got to assume it got nominated or
Yeah,
won.
I would assume. Yeah, I would assume
Yeah,
so.
like it's just
Let me
I
check. I'll
if
check.
if you're rolling the dice on that, sure. I just think at that point you're throwing your Grammys out. It's just too much.
You
But
got yeah, he's a different animal, man.
yeah, man.
He's just a different animal, no matter how you look at it. Um, sad is tragic.
91 is a long time, man, and
91 is a long time.
he just capitalized on every year of his life. I just think
Yeah.
most people don't get a chance to live 3 lifetimes and accomplish what he was able to accomplish in one.
Hmm.
So that's amazing. His legacy is children. Office being one of my favorite shows of all time. His daughter's on there, Parks and Rec as well.
But
So
imagine like you said, 91, right?
yeah,
Imagine, and he's worked every genre, every genre.
imaginable.
So if think about him being around jazz, he's around Louis Armstrong. I believe he did some work with was it Count Basie or Duke Ellington, one of the two.
Miles.
Miles,
Hmm.
Ray Charles, and then he went and studied over in Paris or overseas. He went and studied with the
The lady
famous
that helped him with the strings. I forgot her
the
name.
guy. It was a guy who he studied under
Yeah. I thought it was a
a
lady, but
classical. It was a
yeah,
classical. It was a guy. It was a guy.
yeah. It's on the
Um,
documentary too.
yeah, he studied under him to learn more about
The
opening up.
technique.
Yeah, he's building his capacity of music. So
Yeah.
he's just building it. So I got jazz. I got classical.
Hmm.
He has country, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. I want to say,
I
don't
don't
quote me. I think he
I
did some
don't
work
think
with Willie Nelson, I think.
I don't think there is a genre he didn't touch. And
Yeah.
he worked with the biggest players in the game in
Like you
every
said, Frank
genre.
Sinatra. Like
Yeah.
when you're talking about these guys, they are the best of the best.
Yeah.
They
I
are
mean,
the best of the best.
Frank had that mantle as the biggest artist in the world at one point.
It's
You know
all
what I
Blue
mean?
Eyes from
Yeah. So then it's like,
freaking New Jersey.
hmm,
It's Frank Love and Marriage. It's Frank
yeah,
Sinatra. Like
yeah.
what is there to you know? And what's
Fly Me
funny if
to
you
the
think
Moon.
about
That's
it,
the I know there's something on he's like the first song ever played
Fly Me to the
outside of this world. They played Fly Me to the Moon. We actually landed on the moon.
Moon.
So
Yeah, think about Michael Jackson, who watched and learned from the Sammy Davis Jr., the Frank Sinatra. It's like it's
yep.
the just the timeline and just the continuum of what you said, 6 degrees, 7 degrees,
6 degrees of
6 degrees of
separation.
separation.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like
Yeah.
there it is right there. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go right there.
And me and
So
Bill used to have a wish list on if there was a battle for verses, who could go up against Quincy? And it was just impossible. We
it's
thought Barry
impossible.
Gordy could kind of cheat and just be like, okay, let me just use everything from the
That's
Motown
your best bet is
catalog.
to get Barry Gordon.
But
I'm talking about, I
outside
got to
of that,
use my
unless you're using a
entire.
cheat code, he is the cheat code.
Yeah, you would have to use a Barry Gordy because
Yeah.
Barry has all the. I'm playing all of my Detroit Motown music,
Mm.
but then
Now, for sure,
I
just
don't
out
know,
of
bro.
respect, I'm gonna watch the documentary this weekend. In December, I'm
So am
probably
I.
gonna go hit up the museum, and just go
Okay,
give it
okay,
another look.
yeah,
But yeah, man, like this one really hurt. Like
it
Bill, you hit
does.
me up, and I was, I was, I almost took my emotions out on you. Like, bro, get off my phone this early. Like, that's don't call me with this hoax news. I
Yeah,
just knew it was fake.
yeah.
But when I saw it after, I thought for a minute, I'm like, he lived a full life, and so if you my suggestion is if you guys haven't gotten a chance to watch that documentary on Netflix, check it out.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
secondly, if you I think he's responsible for a lot of songs y'all just don't know. So go look at it,
Hmm.
look up his discography, however you say it, and then
Yeah. Hmm.
definitely check out his catalog. It's inspiring and it's lengthy. And then
Very lengthy.
yeah,
Very
go watch
lengthy.
something, whether it be the Fresh Prince theme song, a Fresh Prince
Something.
episode,
Yeah, yeah.
In the
Sanford and Son.
House,
Yeah.
like old
Color
interviews
Purple.
with this
Yeah.
guy.
Hmm.
And
The Roots.
yeah,
The Roots is yeah.
exactly. So
Score.
or just listen to the Sanford and Son theme song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh but hey man, that's it. That's the last thing I had, Bill. Any
Yeah.
parting shots for you?
Again, I just want to wish his family, condolences and much prayers to you guys. Hopefully some way our our video gets to someone, and I just want you guys to know that this is an appreciation
Mm-hmm.
for the life of Quincy Jones. Again, we thank you for all the music and everything you've given us,
Thank you.
all the wonderful, just interviews and everything. But again, we just thank you for everything that you've given us. You an icon, you're cemented in music history. And I don't think we will ever, ever, ever see another Quincy Jones ever again.
Never. Really inspiring. I use some of his quotes, just to
Mhm.
talk to my kids about how equally important talent is with technique, which is something that he
Talent and
discussed
hard
on.
work. Yep.
Yeah, and then just responsible for some of my best most favorite tracks on my playlist. I
Mhm.
think my favorite writer of all time is Babyface. My favorite producer of all time, and I know we're using that word loosely, Bill, is
Yeah.
Quincy. But
Mhm.
Babyface is from that school where you could see that he's doing his Quincy imitation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just I think, like you said, you remove his music. I don't know if I'm the person I am today. I don't know if my
Yeah.
tastes are the same. You
Yeah.
remove what he's done for the movie industry or entertainment industry at
Mhm.
large, it's a
Yep.
wrap.
Yep.
You talk about how he's kind of impacted just things that we take for granted in his role with activism and just making sure that
Mhm.
Black people are fully represented when it comes to this piece of the I guess the
Yes.
American dream, or however you want to talk about it, entertainment, just
Mhm.
making sure we have our mantle, him
Mhm.
being kind of one of the cornerstones for that. I'm just
Yeah.
extremely thankful for this guy. Once
Yep.
again,
Mhm.
blessings to his family, and
Yeah.
may he rest in peace.
Yep.
So guys, check him out.
Before we go, leave your 2 cents.
Yeah.
Leave your 2 cents.
Yeah, if there's tracks that we left off,
Yeah. Any tracks?
let
What?
let us know. If
Any
there's
tracks?
shows,
Your
films,
thoughts. Leave
everything.
your thoughts. What are your thoughts? What are your fondest memories of a Quincy Jones? Leave your thoughts in our comment section. Leave your 2 cents. My 2 cents.
And Bill, what's another thing they could do to show support?
Hey, y'all know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so that whenever we drop any new content, you're instantly notified. And don't forget to share our content. Also, follow us on Instagram and in this corner one. That's and in this corner one. That's TikTok, Instagram. We're on Facebook and in this corner. We're on Twitter and in this corn one no R and in this corn one no R.
All right, this concludes our episode. Thank you
Now
for
we can
tuning in to And in This Corner. Peace.
peace.